That's it's going religious and political. So how can we understand? Is this a religious war, we can say, or does it have anything to do with politics, or are they doing just a prophecy apparently they took from God?
Judaism has aspects that are both political and religious. Much of Jewish literature is descriptions of laws and practices and customs which are political, and which also teach the Jews to insist on laws and practices for non-Jews. So you can't really speak of Judaism as being either political or religious. It's both, and it's strongly both. And the Messiah himself is a political figure. He's a king. It's very different from the Christian perception of the Messiah as Jesus Christ as the divine presence of God in a human form. In Judaism, the Messiah is instead a political leader who fulfills the political laws of Judaism.
And all these wars are based into the Old Testament, we could say, or Talmud, which they have to do the commandments of their Lord. But there are some rabbis who are against this understanding, and they viciously fight against the Zionism. Zionism, even Zionism, sometimes it's against Jews, interest of Jews.
Many anti-Semitic movements, including Nazism, were instigated by Zionists, because Zionists believe that anti-Semitism is good for the Jews because it keeps the Jews segregated from non-Jews. The greatest fear of Zionists is that Jews will assimilate, that they will marry non-Jews and lose their Jewishness. And Jews teach that this is equivalent to extinction. So they have a hatred of Jews who assimilate, Jews who marry non-Jews and lose their Jewish culture. So there has often been a struggle between Jewish populations and Zionists. But what you're describing particularly is the Satmar Naturakartai Jews from Hungary, who are ultra-Orthodox Jews who oppose it for the religious reasons I gave. For example, Deuteronomy chapter 30 and the Talmud in the book of Ketubot, folio 111a. But those Jews still hold the Talmudic beliefs that the Jews are a master race, that they are a nation of priests, and that the non-Jews will have to give up all their religion, all their culture, and follow these priests as slaves, and that Israel will be a holy nation. The distinction is that the Shabbataians believe that Shabbatai Tzvi was the Messiah, and that they have had a Messiah ever since, so that they believe they are in the Messianic age, whereas the ultra-Orthodox Jews believe that their Messiah is yet to arrive.
How about the Christian Zionists? What would you say about that? I mean, there are some Christian Armenians who oppose what we're talking about because they say they're chosen people.
Christian Zionism among Armenians is not something that I've studied, but I have studied Christian Zionism in Protestant movements in Germany, England, and America. And it has often been sponsored by people who have been corrupted by the Jewish Kabbalah, like Sir Isaac Newton, the famous physicist, was actually a Kabbalistic Jew, and the famous economist Maynard Keynes described him as a Jewish monotheist of the school of Maimonides. And these people taught Christians that they would have to sacrifice themselves so that biblical prophecy would be fulfilled. And they also taught Christians that there should be revolutions and wars which consume the earth, so that God will create a new heaven and a new earth, and Jesus Christ will return. But all these movements were financed and promoted by Jews themselves and by crypto-Jews. So it's an artificial movement that greatly damaged Christian theology, which was 1,500 years old when they started to establish the Christian Zionist movement. It's completely opposed to traditional Christian theology, and it has created many mythologies, like the mythology of the rapture, which was created by crypto-Jewish Jesuits who taught Christians that if they start, for example, a nuclear war with Russia, that those Christians who start that war will be lifted up into heaven and the war will be fought, And after the war is fought and humanity is destroyed, and Jesus comes down and fights all these wars, there will then be a new utopia where they can come and live, and they'll live in peace. So it's kind of a very selfish belief which leads them into self-destruction, which is also very much what happened to the Armenians. The Armenians were duped by Jews into a form of